Hello everyone, and here we are. We finally made it, the final presidential debate. Wow. And you know, this one was actually a debate compared to the first one, which was just an incoherent mess. And I guess in some ways, I guess you could say I did enjoy it. In a weird, sadistic type of way. Because some of the things about it were pretty funny. So let's talk about the good and the very bad. Kristen Welker, the moderator for the debate, did a pretty good job. I think she was pretty fair. I know the right-wing people might disagree with me. Okay, I know they will disagree with me. But I believe her interruption of Trump was necessary in order to keep the debate going along. In this way, I don't think she was really biased towards any candidate whatsoever. I believe Trump is just Trump and he just likes to interrupt individuals. It is what it is, you know. It came to my head, win or lose, that this was going to be Trump's final presidential debate. And it's been a hell of a 5 years. And for his final debate performance, he did suffice enough. He was fairly presidential for the first half of the debate. And although the polls may not show it, I mean, polls according to like CNN suggest that he lost the debate, it doesn't really matter too much because polls suggested once again in 2016 that Trump lost all 3 of the presidential debates against Hillary Clinton. But he still ended up becoming president of the United States. What I can attest from this is that you may end up winning the presidential debate, but that certainly does not mean that you will end up winning the presidency, because in the end, a message resonates with the American people. For example, Trump's idea of populism back in 2016 was extremely powerful and pushed him over the edge in critical swing states. And I noticed that during this debate, he was really trying to appeal to those critical swing states.
The oil industry pollutes significantly, and I'd stop giving to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. He won't give federal subsidies to the gas, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
Because basically what he's saying is he is going to destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you remember that, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I have...
In fact, some nostalgia for 2016 peaked when Trump started accusing Joe Biden as a corrupt politician and that he was still an outsider, despite being the president for the past 4 years.
But you were getting a lot of money from Russia. They were paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are. But now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails, the horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening, and it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family, but what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Joe Biden did not do amazing. I think he did good enough. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't bad whatsoever. He had some good moments. Moments in which it felt like he was really speaking to the American people. For example, Biden would mock a couple of Trump's lines on the debate stage, including this one, where Trump said we were learning to live with a virus.
We're learning to live with it. We have no choice. We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does. He has the ability to lock himself up. I don't know. He's obviously made a lot of money someplace, but he has this thing about living in a basement. People can't do that. By the way, I, as the president, couldn't do that. I'd love to put myself in the basement or in a beautiful room in the White House and go away for a year and a half until it disappears. I can't do that.
He says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. That man or wife going to bed tonight and reaching over to try to touch their, out of habit, where their wife or husband was, is gone. Learning to live with it. Come on. We're dying with it.
And this one.
I've released all of my tax returns. 22 years. Go look at them. 22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you hiding? Why are you unwilling? The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world. And China's building a new road to a new a golf course you have overseas. So What's going on here? Release your tax return or stop talking about corruption.
However, during the second half of the debate, I noticed that Biden started to slow down. In this second half, the real inner Trump came out. For example, Trump's attacks against Joe Biden in the 1994 crime bill were pretty good, and it led to this really awkward pause in this segment of the debate in which Joe Biden was trying to defend himself in terms of why him and Barack Obama did nothing to change the 1994 crime bill.
Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years with Obama. You know why, Joe? Because you're all talk and no action.
All right, Vice President
Because
Biden, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
We had a Republican Congress. That's the answer.
Well, you
Okay.
got to talk them into it, Joe. Sometimes
All right.
you got to talk them into it.
We're going to move on to our next section.
He accused the Republican Congress, but in reality, Democrats held the Senate. They held a supermajority in the Senate, in fact, and the House, so they clearly could have worked on it. Yeah, leftists think about this time period in which they controlled these pillars of power, in which they could have passed a lot of things. It's a lot of wasted potential for them, but don't get me started on that. Another thing Trump managed to accuse Joe Biden of was the accusation of Barack Obama starting the immigrant cages during his presidency, which I thought was a good attack until you realize that Trump's the president and he could stop these cages.
They built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the cages. And then they had a picture in a certain newspaper. And it was a picture of these horrible cages. And they said, look at these cages. President Trump built them. And then it was determined they were built in 2014. That was him. And they did it. We changed the policy.
Your response
they
to that?
They did it. We changed.
did not
They built the
separate
cages.
They-
Who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
Who
we're
built the
talking about.
cages,
Let's
Joe?
talk about what we're talking about.
Don't get me wrong, I understand that one person created them, but if the next person who comes in line also has the capability to stop it, it looks kind of weird when you try to attack your predecessor when you yourself are not doing enough to solve that problem. This debate also introduced the mute button, which was used a couple times. I remember it being used against Joe Biden. I don't know if I can find the clip here, but I'll try my best to implement it.
Wear masks. He did say, as you know, this.
And leftists were left a bad bone, because Joe Biden finally made it distinctly clear that he is in no way aligned with the far left part of the Democratic Party.
He's
Biden,
a very
your response.
confused guy. He thinks he's running against somebody else. He's running against Joe Biden. I beat all those other people because I disagreed with them. Joe Biden he's running against.
Let's see, what else? Oh, Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, Trump made these weird comments in which he suggested that no other president has done more to the African American crowd in comparison to him than maybe Abraham Lincoln. He also said that he was the most least racist person in the room.
As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room. He made a reference to Abraham Lincoln. Where did that come in? I mean,
You said
where
you're
did that-
Abraham
No,
Lincoln.
where did that? No.
You said-
I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community.
And I'm
I
saying-
didn't say I'm Abraham Lincoln. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community.
Yeah, despite these comments, I still think Trump did a better job in this debate than his first one. Do I think he made a big impact? That's unknown for now. I believe Trump's last-ditch effort to truly stay on a message may push him a little bit closer to reaching Joe Biden in terms of the polls, but with less than 2 weeks left in the election, it's hard to see that really happening. A funny thing that happened was that Joe Biden kept making these interesting faces that kept making me laugh every time I saw them. Seriously, the way he reacted to Trump's accusations were hilarious. There were a couple moments where Trump tried to bring up Hunter Biden, to which it was no real avail. Once again, I don't think the general American people really care about this story. When it comes to policy, Biden did a fairly good job when it came to the Supreme Court and its potential of undoing the Affordable Care Act. And Joe Biden once again played on the fears of the American people, offering the idea of a dark winter that we're entering.
This is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter. And he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
It's a little scary because cases might start to sprout up again. Trump spread the fears that Joe Biden would shut down the economy again, and that thousands of stores all across the United States would shut down, and in many cases, close for good.
We can't close up our nation. We have to open our school, and we can't close up our nation, or you're not going to have a nation.
I believe these are good strong suits for both of these candidates. It was so weird seeing the both of them not interrupt each other as often as he did in the first debate. It was much more comprehensible and appealing to the ears. If we saw this Trump during the first debate, it is unknown where he would be right now in the polls, because I think it would have served to benefit him. But here we are, less than 12 days until the election, and my god are things going to heat up. Let's see, what else can I mention? Joe Biden misspoke and called the Proud Boys reference in the first debate as the Poor Boys. Twitter really loved that. I thought it was just a funny mishap.
He says about the poor boys. Last time we were on stage here, he said, I told him to stand down and stand ready. Come on. This guy is a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn.
In terms of who I think won, I think Joe Biden had the edge. It wasn't a complete wash whatsoever, but I believe Joe Biden will remain with a steady lead. Do I think both candidates missed completely? No, I believe both of them had some strong moments, but in general, I would have to give the edge to Joe Biden. Another thing that I would like to mention is that Chris Wallace is probably punching the air right now, because almost everyone is applauding Kristen Welker's approach to the presidential debate last night. And it's kind of disappointing because Chris Wallace as a pundit isn't really that bad. I'd say he's one of the better ones in current journalism. But for Welker, this was really I believe a home run for her. Let me know what you guys think. Am I wrong? Am I stupid? I don't care. Say whatever you want. And hey, if you agree with me, go right ahead and comment. With 2 weeks left until the election, I have 2 videos planned. One is a reaction to an upcoming epic rap battle, and the other one is my final prediction video, and also known as my Halloween special. And hey, this guy will also feature in it. Until then, this has been Zeepstered. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.